Recognizing the member from Chilliwack.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd first like to begin by acknowledging that I'm on the traditional territory of the Stalo people, in particular that of the Chilkowiak and Palalt tribes. We often use territorial acknowledgements before we speak in this House, but I thought I would go a little further and learn a little bit more about the place where I live. And then maybe names of some of the mountains around here, and I encourage everyone else to do it in your home communities as well. The major, I guess, physical piece of geography that really is noticeable in Chilliwack is Mount Chiam, and I recently learned that Mount Chiam's indigenous name is Lithake. And Lithake was a woman who lived south of here, and she ran away from her family, and the Creator Halls turned her into a mountain. And behind her, the mountain behind her is called Squame, which means dog in Halkomelem. And coincidentally, Squame is Lithake's dog. So those are just a few things that I've learned recently, and I encourage everyone in this legislature to learn the same. So I'd like to begin by thanking my, obviously, the people of Chilliwack for putting their trust in me to sit in this House and bring their interests in this House and represent them to the best of my ability. And I'm grateful for that trust every day. I'd like to thank my two CAs, Caitlin Hickenbotham and Willa Reschelt. Without them, there's no possible way I could do this job. They do a lot of tough work day in and day out, assisting constituents, navigating programs and things like that. I'd also like to thank my legislative assistant, Kaylin Tyrrell, who is absolutely indispensable to me when it comes to helping me with my calendar or navigating the precinct there when I'm in Victoria. And I would like to, I haven't thanked her yet in any of my speeches, and I just like to thank Kaylee Zakax. She is the whip's assistant for the BC NDP caucus, and I definitely wouldn't be able to get around her or know where I am supposed to be without her. I'd also like to thank my predecessor, John Martin, for his years of service to Chilliwack, and he certainly was a champion of Chilliwack in the legislature, and is certainly a cheerleader for Chilliwack. And I believe during his time he served Chilliwack well. He's been very magnanimous to me and helped me when I've needed it, and he has put out his hand to me that I can give him a call and rely on him anytime that I need his assistance, which I think is very, very generous and gracious of John. So I'd like to thank him very much. We're all acknowledging it because it's in our face every day, but I just like to acknowledge the difficult time that the pandemic has caused for all of us. Some of us are inconvenienced. Some of us are truly endangered by the vaccine. I think I've heard it said a few times. We're all in the same storm. But we're in different boats, and that is definitely true for some of us. But there is hope on the horizon, which I'm looking very much forward to, in the form of vaccines. And vaccines. It seems like the rollout is going faster and faster all the time. Actually, tomorrow, I'm going to be able to register myself. I say with my age group registering, I would think the majority of the legislature will be registered by that time, and maybe a little bit more. Maybe the entire Liberal caucus actually. Tomorrow's the 45 and above can register. So I'm very hopeful about the vaccine rollout. That said, we still are in obviously the third wave, and we can't take our eye off the ball, and we do have to continue with these measures to keep ourselves safe. And I know that is a big priority of the government, is to keep us safe and healthy. And it's a platform of the throne speech, of which I have a lot of. I heard yesterday the member from Kelowna Mission say that she has no hope in the throne speech. I don't feel that negative about this. I feel like there's lots of hope in the throne speech. There's lots of hope with what this government has done over the last 4 years, and we are building back stronger out of this pandemic, a more inclusive recovery. And so I fully support this throne speech with 100% of my heart. So I'd also like to, thank a few people or organizations in my community. I'd like to thank City Council and the Mayor. They've been just terrific to me, embraced me and helped me with the work I need to do, and have not shied away from telling me the things that they need. And so I'm very grateful for them. I can say the same about the Chilliwack Chamber of Commerce, their executive director there, Leanna Kemp, who who I know from before. I was a director on the board of the Chilliwack Restorative Justice Society. She was the executive director there at that time, and so I enjoy continuing working with her in this capacity. I also really like to give a shout out to SEPCO, and SEPCO is the Chilliwack Economic Partners Corporation. So it's a corporation that its sole share owner is the city, and it's there to promote economic activity. And the executive director there, Brian Coombs, has been just terrific to me. And the same thing, we have regular check-ins. One of my 2-minute speeches, I dedicated to the Downtown Business Improvement Association and their executive director, Trevor McDonald, and I obviously have to thank him. But I'd like to, maybe go back a bit to City Council and the Mayor, and particularly thank the Mayor, because the Mayor is a really courageous housing advocate, and I've always really appreciated the Mayor's hard work on housing when it comes to housing. He's been his name Ken Popoff, Mayor Ken Popoff, and he's been serving the Chilliwack community as a councillor since December 2011, and then as mayor since November 2018. And he's a longtime Chilliwack resident, established business owner, and long before his city council career, he was heavily involved in the community through the BIA, supporting local community events, etc. And he's really been a courageous advocate to tackle the housing crisis. I served as co-chair with the mayor on this committee called Chilliwack Healthier Communities with him. He was a strong supporter for a housing first approach, and has made a large impact on reducing homelessness in Chilliwack. And he serves as an example to mayors around the province of how to work with senior levels of government to get things done. Not fighting against the senior levels of government, but really working with the senior levels of government to make sure that people get housing. I'm very excited to continue working with the mayor in this role. One of the projects that the provincial government has announced in Chilliwack is a project that will replace the Portal Clinic, but it'll have some supportive housing and some other regular housing. So the BC Housing and the Phoenix Society have submitted a rezoning application to the city of Chilliwack for the project. It would be located at the corner of Rowett Avenue and Trethewey Avenue, and the site's ideal for use as a shelter and supportive housing project, as it is close to public transportation, clinics, and other amenities. And society staff from the Phoenix Society would be on site 24/7 to provide support services for residents, including life skills training, mentorship, and wellness checks, and would encourage culturally appropriate programming. And the mayor said this about this project: providing supports for people experiencing homelessness involves an enormous amount of teamwork and collaboration. We are grateful the province recognizes a need for supportive housing and shelter space in Chilliwack and look forward to meeting with them further. So Fraser Health, through an integrated response team, will provide primary health care, home health and mental health and substance use services on site to some residents and shelter guests, as well as referral to mental health and substance use recovery programs as needed. The 3 to 4 story modular built project would be shaped in an L shape with supportive housing on one side and the shelter on the other side. Building will include offices, meeting rooms, and a commercial kitchen. And the 50 homes would be studio units with their own bathrooms and kitchens. And the shelter would be open nightly and provide a warm and safe and physically distanced place for people to stay. I'm personally grateful for the efforts of BC Housing and Phoenix Society for working together on this proposal. Additional homes with supports and shelter spaces are desperately needed in the community so more people can get off the streets and into safe and secure housing. So at this housing project, a community advisory committee would be formed, which would include project partners and neighborhood representatives. The CAC, or Community Advisory Committee, would help address any concerns that may arise. If rezoning is approved for this project, and I believe it will, construction is expected to start either late spring or summer of this year. And I can tell you that the province through BC Housing is going to support the construction and operational budgets for this project, and the 40 space shelter would replace the temporary portal shelter on Yale Road, which is downtown here at Chilliwack, and is desperately needed to be replaced. The building's in a bit of disrepair. And while we're talking about housing, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to talk about another important housing announcement in Chilliwack. We were talking about the Attorney General today answering questions in question period, and we were talking about rental housing. And I can tell you that we built some rental housing here in Chilliwack recently that is going to help people immensely. There are 24 new affordable rental homes coming to Chilliwack for people with low to moderate incomes, provided by the Building BC Community Housing Fund. These new affordable rental homes are part of 16 projects, which will deliver a total of 634 new homes across the province. Ever since the former BC Liberal government refused to take action on BC's housing crisis, we've seen more people move to my community in search of secure and affordable housing. And I'm proud to be part of a government that is taking strong steps to tackle the housing crisis and deliver affordable housing where people need it. Everyone deserves a safe place to call home, and I know these homes will improve the lives of people in my community and the community as a whole. And these new affordable homes for Indigenous families will be built in partnership with Chiacton Nation, one of the local First Nations here. And construction is expected to begin in March 2021. And it's a very exciting project, and I thought appropriate to bring up at this time, given the short memory that the BC Liberal Caucus has when it comes to their support for rental housing. It's almost comical this morning. I just about had tears coming down my face. I found it so funny. So I'd really also like to thank the Chilliwack Economic Recovery Network, or CERN. CERN's makeup, which includes some of the organizations I was talking about earlier, include the Chilliwack Economic Corporation, Chilliwack Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Business Improvement Association, Stalo Futures, Tourism Chilliwack, and Community Futures, South Fraser and South Employment Program. I'm thanking them for not only for their support, but for working hard to get out the word about our supports for business. When we created a program at record speed to support business that was adversely affected by the circuit breaker restrictions, which are very necessary, CERN got out the word through their network, Facebook, and their member organization networks. So all those organizations I just read about now all got the word out to their networks as well. They also got the word out about the Small and Medium Business Recovery Grant, supporting people and businesses through the pandemic. And the recovery is a top priority for this government, as mentioned in the throne speech, which I fully support. And the Small and Medium Business Recovery Grant provides up to $30,000 for businesses affected by the pandemic. And then tourism businesses are eligible for a further $15,000 if they qualify. I'm super proud of the work that the Minister of Jobs, Economic Recovery and Innovation is doing to support business. And I can't be more proud to be part of a caucus with such a strong leader as the Minister of Jobs, Economic Recovery and Innovation. You know, he took feedback from business and the community to continually improve the program's rollout. So that was just great. CERN also helped to get the word out about the Launch Online grant. The grant pays up to 75% of eligible expenses to a maximum of $7,500 per business, including website and e-commerce development, content development, which can include copywriting, hiring a photographer, stock photography purchase, e-commerce platform fees up to a year's worth, online advertising up to 1 year's worth, and advertising creative, the banner ads, etc., search engine optimization, and staff training. Yeah, so CERN also at the moment, that's Chilliwack Economic Recovery Network, also has a local campaign on right now to support our local businesses, and in particular to support those affected by the circuit breaker restrictions. It's called Love Local. It's a week-long challenge that focuses on actions each day that help local businesses. So, you know, day one is to buy lunch for your staff. Day two is to get a coffee to go. Day three is to get baked goods from a local business for a friend. Day four is to go to a happy hour on a patio. Day five is to purchase some local gift cards. Day six, dine on a patio. Day seven is to purchase a pay it forward lunch. The campaign's in its fourth day, but I'm only on the third day of the campaign. I got a late start, but this isn't a challenge that is only limited to Chilliwack or even to this week or to that 7 days. And I encourage all my colleagues to take the challenge and support the local organizations in their ridings, or sorry, local businesses in their ridings. So I'd also like to thank, because I've had meetings with them recently, I'd like to thank the Chilliwack Youth Health Center and Stalo Nation. Both organizations applied and got some of our multiculturalism grant funding. I even was able to get the Parliamentary Secretary for Racism to come and visit with the Chilliwack Youth Health Center and a member of the youth that is pushing that project forward. And it was a great meeting, and I'm also very, very proud to be in a caucus with the Parliamentary Secretary for Anti-Racism, and I'm really excited that in the throne speech we mentioned developing BC's first anti-racism law. So really excited about that. But multiculturalism grant funding will help local organizations fight systemic racism throughout the Chilliwack area. This year, priority was given to projects addressing anti-Indigenous, anti-Asian, and anti-Black racism. And we know that Indigenous, Black, and people of color in Canada experience pervasive and systemic racism, and we must all do what we can to stop it. Funding programs in communities that educate and provide culturally sensitive supports is one step our government is taking to combat racism experienced in British Columbia. And multiculturalism grant funding is provided to nonprofit and charitable organizations with projects that build intercultural interaction, trust, and understanding, or challenge racism, hate, and systemic barriers. So I told you a little bit about the projects, but maybe in more detail here. The Chilliwack Youth Health Center will be getting $5,000, and that's to help the Trans Youth Alliance Group Enhancement Project. And the goals of this project are to improve quality of care for trans youth through enhancing existing services and to serve more LGBTQ2S+ youth in need through raising awareness of program availability at the Chilliwack Youth Health Center. And then to Stalo Nation, or in particular the Stalo Resource and Research Management Center, they got $10,000, and the program is called Learning to Live in a Good Way, a special cultural experience series addressing Indigenous settler relations in Sault Tamook. Oh, and I should tell you what that word means. It means our world. And this will emphasize the collaborative relationship between the Stalo Service Agency and the University of the Fraser Valley. The Anti-Indigenous Racism series shares Stalo knowledge with local and world communities. It encourages all people to live well together. And for 2020, 2021, the province is providing like almost $1 million in anti-racism initiatives through Stronger BC's economic recovery plan. And what an amazing thing to do. Not only building back from the recovery, but building back from the recovery stronger and more resilient and more inclusive. This is just one program that the BC NDP government is working to subvert systemic racism and protect human rights. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, very briefly, just a snippet of the, my motivation, why I ran. And so, I ran in this election. Well, I guess maybe I should tell you just one thing about myself. I'm a working class person. My parents worked. My dad worked with his hands. My mom worked in a hospital, and my grandparents were the same way. We don't come from the moneyed class, if you will, and so I've always kind of had a real connection with working people. One of the things that started to get me really sort of motivated or thinking about politics and the difference it makes in people's lives was in the early 2000s when the BC Liberals first took over. And my mother, like I said, worked in a hospital. She worked for the hospital, or she was a member of the Hospital Employees Union. And their contract was essentially ripped up. Their wages were reduced by 15%, and then they were asked to pay back those wages from when the contract was first signed. I mean, I can't think of a more egregious thing to do to the collective bargaining process. It boggles the mind. And then as I got a little older, I got elected to school board, and I was on the school board for 4 years under a BC Liberal government, and we couldn't build schools. we were constantly having our budgets reduced. I remember one time there was one time we had what they call, I don't know if anyone here remembers, low hanging fruit. So we had the low hanging fruit removed from our budget, and then of course we couldn't pay for busing for kids anymore. And so so what happened was all the MLAs in sort of ruralish areas where students rely on busing to get to school obviously got lots of angry correspondence and emails and things. And so the BC Liberal government decided, okay, well, we'll give it back to them, but we tell them that they have to spend it on busing, and that they can never, and that pot of money will never rise with either per student funding or even with inflation. It was sort of a really egregious thing to do. And so I lived through 4 years of things like this as a school trustee, so frustrated, having to cut school budgets every year, having to cut, support time for some of the most in need of students to help them through their education. And then the BC NDP government was elected, Speaker, and it was like a ray of sunshine coming into my life. I can't even overstate it. It was so wonderful. We instantly started getting projects approved. We got a addition up at one elementary school. We've had another high school that has been approved. We have yet another high school over here in this direction. I guess I'm pointing around Chilliwack here for you. Of course you can't see. Another high school over there, another business case for another extension on a elementary school, another one on another high school. Most recently, the ministry has announced 240 seat addition to Vetter Elementary in Chilliwack. Just amazing. $15.4 million this thing will cost, and it'll help to keep kids out of portables. We, believe it or not, here in Chilliwack, we had the most portable to student ratio in the province, even higher than Surrey. And so we were in desperate need of capital projects, which we weren't getting under a BC Liberal government. Now that we have a BC NDP government, we're getting all sorts of projects that we desperately need. We're not, these projects are being built by BC NDP government, and it's terrific. It's great. And this sort of leadership that I saw from the BC NDP government, and the lack of leadership, innovation, and downright callousness and meanness of BC Liberal government, I can't. That's really what motivated me to run under the BC NDP banner, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I'm elected. I'm glad we have a strong, stable majority, and that we're able to go to work for the people of British Columbia to get us through this pandemic and into a strong recovery for everyone. And so I just can't say enough about how proud I am to represent the people of Chilliwack and under the BC NDP banner, and to be part of a BC NDP government. And for those reasons, I'm obviously going to support the speech from the throne. It is full of kind of hope. It has and it's going to help people immensely when we do these things. And Speaker, we already are doing these things, and that's what's really amazing about this speech. So I guess I'll probably just wrap it up there, and just to say that I hope my colleagues across the aisle choose to support the throne speech, because I think it's it's really good, and it'll say something good about them if they do support it. So thank you very much.